this one set up.
Let's see if I can get that. There we go.
Yeah, we are officially now, ladies and gentlemen. This has been chaos today because I've been experimenting with a new system. It didn't work. I mean, everybody, it didn't work.
Sorry, the volume is like really wobbled. I don't know how to say it. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Perfectly? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Now it's better.
You know, it'd even be better if the microphone was right under me where it was supposed to be.
There we go.
There we go. You probably hear me a lot better now.
Yeah, it was just like all echoey.
Yeah, no, yeah. Trying a new system out. I working the bugs out. I still got some bugs to work out, ladies and gentlemen. So I will be working on these going forward. But Tara so happily volunteered to be my first guinea pig test subject. Blah 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 blah.
There you go.
Blah, blah. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm all right. Beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest. How are you?
Awesome. Not too bad. This is my I just finished backpacking North America about a month ago.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah. Did that for 9 months, 14,000 miles, and now I'm doing a summer job in a naturist community. And then I'm going to go from Europe to Asia.
Wow.
What the naturist? Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm an adventurer. I'm near Newmarket, Ontario, which is a little bit north of Toronto.
Okay.
That's where I'm at right now.
Sweet. So when you say that you did how many miles?
14,000.
14,000?
So you figure Canada going across is about 7,000-8,000 miles. But I went down the United States. So basically I went like this. I went from north United States all the way I went from Maine to Florida. I did it in a very roundabout way. I went from Maine, I went all the way across to Michigan, and then from Michigan I went all the way down to Florida. Florida I went across to California, and then from California I worked my way all the way back up north.
Wow. How long did that take you?
9 months to do all of it. 7 months actually on the road, 2 months because of Christmas and holiday stuff. I stayed put in a couple spots, but yeah.
So did you drive part and then hike part?
No driving.
No driving. Walking the whole way?
Walking some of it, hitchhiking some of it, train, bus.
Okay.
Ferry in a couple places.
Very cool.
Yeah. Looking for a place to live. It's weird. Like I had a very unique look at North America just doing what I did for the last 9 months. And for different reasons, neither country is a good place to be in right now.
Yeah.
Right. Canada's too expensive. Canada's just too expensive.
Yeah.
It's just way too expensive.
It has been for a long time.
well, no, but now it's like it blew me away that I could get a 4-bedroom house in Cincinnati, Ohio, for example, for about $300,000 Canadian. That same house in Canada would be like $1.2, $1.3 million.
Yeah. No,
like that's insane. Like that is legitimately insane. Canada. So the way I tell this to people is I had higher expectations of Canada because of the reputation Canada has versus what the reputation the United States has. So I had a lower expectation for the States. And I'm not saying this like in an arrogant way. I expected a certain degree of poverty in the States. I expected a certain degree of have not in the United States. I did not expect it to be even in some ways more flagrant here. Like that was the part that I think that really blew me away because
how things are portrayed.
It's such a like the United States is an easier place to live in than Canada right now. And that's like real, like significantly so. And it's not like it's close, but you pay more in Canada and you get all these benefits. No, it's Canada. Like, I don't know what to tell a 20-year-old in Canada about buying a house. I have no good answer to that. Right. And that's something that like I didn't realize how much of a problem it was until I literally saw it on a ground level in a way that.
Well, and I think also though that in the States it varies incredibly depending on where you're at. It's like here in Western Washington, prices are absolutely insane.
But you're still cheap. But I went through there. You're still cheaper than Canada.
Probably.
Like that. No. I like. I'm not saying you're easy. Like I'm not even going there. Like, so 38 of the 50 states, it is like Cincinnati. There's 12 states that are like you, right? And right to like
We're
right
getting
like
taxed out of our houses.
Oh no, you are no. It's happened. What's happening to you? What's happening to you right now is even more so in Canada. Now, like I was right. Washington, California is the closest to Canada, like head to head. If you looked at like housing in California versus housing in Canada, it's really close, right? There are some spots in California that are more expensive than all of Canada, but it's not. But there's also spots in California where it's still cheaper, which and again, California is not cheap. Like I like not saying that at all. So but again, when I traveled through the United States, I kind of expected that, and like I expected that. When I went through Canada, I was blown away with what I saw. And but this takes on nothing. Like there's amazing stuff in Canada. I had a fun time in Canada for the most part. It's just I realized like for Canada, when it comes to Canada, I don't know what, like, if I want to have kids, I want to have a house and kids in Canada.
How?
I'd have to, I don't think there's enough hours in the week to work to achieve that.
Right.
Right. And that's a huge problem. And then in the United States, and the flip side is like, I don't really want to go into the political blah, blah, blah. I don't personally know. I don't think Trump's like not like the space Hitler. I don't think he's good either, but I don't think like, again, I don't have the pendulum.
The housing industry that's going on right now has nothing to do with him. At least here in Washington. I mean, this has been coming for a long time, but I mean, I'm out in an extremely rural area. I'm like 40 minutes away from an actual town, and a 3-bedroom, not even nice house is going to be $400,000 to $600,000. I have a child. Yeah, and I have my other child that just bought a house this past year near Everett, and that was it's a 3-bedroom house. I mean, it's nice, but it's like they had to do like tons of updates after they bought it, and it's just a standard 1980s split level in a decent neighborhood with a decent yard, and it was over $600,000.
Yep.
And our house right here now, so we out where we are, and the irony is we're about a half hour away from the PSC dams, like where they get our electricity, and they are killing us with their rates. They just increased all of our rates again, and families all around here have been seeing their rates quadruple. So it's not uncommon now for a family of 4 with a fireplace for heat and propane heater, their power bill is going up on $2,000 a month for the power bill.
Yeah. So
we're getting priced out of our houses. Like people are dropping left and right. Families can't afford to live here anymore. Yeah. So, and it's because the state government is just out of control, and that power company is owned by Canadians. So we're getting priced out of our houses, left and right, by our own government, by Canada, anyways, it's just kind of a mess.
No, like, and that's the thing. Like, I'm watching both countries right now, and it's like, it's not worth it. If I want anything that resembles a normal life, you can't do it here. And that's sobering. Like, that's sobering, right? It's a very sobering little truth. And it's like, okay, so if I want this, I have to leave. That is the ultimate reality there. I have to leave. Yeah.
I owned my first house when I was 19. I've always been a homeowner until the last 5 years. When I sold my last house, I couldn't afford to buy another one. And it's like, I'm on a single income right now, as an author. And I can't afford to own my own home. I can't even afford to change rentals right now, because a 2-bedroom rental, for a house, is going to cost you between $2,500 to $3,500 a month.
Yeah. So there's going to be another
house.
Yeah, no, and that, like another housing collapse is imminent because you can't.
Yes,
so
that whole market is about to go.
Well, no, it has to. But I mean, here's the real catch, though. Like we have to be smart about this. Up here, so what kills us up here is we have no infrastructure to expand. Right? We have like this one. We have a small population, but we also have the second largest landmass. Like, there's not a argument in existence that our prices should be this high. There's not one.
Yeah,
we have the resources are there. Everything's there theoretically, but
it's just
developing that infrastructure,
out of control government management.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all the same,
Yeah. So like I said, so when you look at it like that, it's kind of like one of those. Okay, so I don't know. I can't tell anybody anything. I can't tell people to come here. Not because, again, I don't like the people here. I don't like the environment here. It's just, it is, as it stands, we have hit an unsustainable methodology here. So here's the thing. When it collapses again, it could go one of two ways. Things could come down, but what happens we've been living in like a crisis environment since like 2008. Like if you really want to be blunt, like there's been one crisis after another crisis after another crisis after another crisis after another crisis, blah 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 blah. On stop. Of course it is. No. Of course it is.
It's how people in power stay in power.
well, no, it's how wealth's transferred. Like this, it's not even about staying in power.
Well, power is about money. Power. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they kind of go hand in hand. Power is money, at least in this environment. It's kind of, if you follow one, you kind of end up with the other.
There's a difference between money and wealth, and the reason why I'm emphasizing this, for example, like money can be worth anything. Wealth, like a house on the ground is a house. You're right. It has to be like it. There is a difference there, and it has to be said like that because what happens in a crisis is. We have it like during any crisis, wealth is transferred, right? Because what happens is people that have like when you're in a crisis or when you need to get rid of things, you're selling them on the cheap. So someone that has resources to give now can acquire more, and that's how this game works, and it's how it's worked pretty much for the last 20 years. So. United States, the advantage you guys have over us is you guys have developed so much. There's still plenty of spots theoretically you can go. Now, to your point, it's not as true as it once was either, right? But there's still at the moment you can still, if you wanted to go, say you wanted to go to Kansas or Ohio or Indiana, right? If you wanted to do that, you could.
Because we're broken down. Yeah, each individual state government. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different,
so. But there's some different things happening. So whereas in Canada, the only place any of us can go is New Brunswick. Right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it. Like if you want it. So like what you're talking about, the $500,000-$600,000 homes, that's everywhere here now. Like that's the minimum. And I know we're talking middle of the wood, like nothing. And a good house here goes into the 1 million, 1.2 million range because the realtor companies have a much stronger foothold over here than they do in your neck of the woods.
Because, you aren't competing with with anything. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So like that's the difference. And so once you understand that, you can kind of see why Canada is such a mess.
Yeah.
And so the problem that's going to happen is inevitably another crisis is going to come. So if we are actually smart, right, we stop the fire sale aspect of things, right? That would be the smart way to go because what's happening here is, or if we have to sell, we don't sell to the big companies for the most money. We trade with each other, but there's the risk. What's happening now is wealth is getting transferred at such a rate. Like the gap between have and have not is it's noticeable everywhere now over here. It doesn't matter. And I'm talking both countries. It's very, very noticeable. and it's growing, right? And every time a new crisis happens, that gap widens. And you're right, it's by design. It's been by design for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
I mean, you've seen this cycle. I'm afraid to ask this. I don't know you well enough to ask this question. How old are you?
I'm 53.
Okay, I'm 43.
I'm 53. So yeah, I've seen several bull markets or, fluctuations. And I lived in the golden era. I want to go back to the 80s.
So
even though inflation was very high during the 80s. But as a kid, I didn't realize it's still not as bad as it is now in a lot of aspects. But
you could still have one parent working, one parent at home in the 80s.
Yes,
still was possible.
And that was the typical,
right. And that was
I think we bought our house the late 70s for like $13,000 or something, and the interest rate was high, but the cost of the house was so low that it was still a fraction of what it is now. It was still possible to do that on a single income. And, bread was still, 30 some cents. And like right now I just paid $5 for a can of soup the other day. So
yeah, like, and there's no excuse for either country for that one either, because that's like, there's no excuse because Canada and the United States both feed the world. Like, they're the big bread baskets. They feed the bread baskets of the world. So there is zero excuse for this. But but again, I think this is just, and this is me being, I think people are going to let this cycle continue to its inevitable conclusion, which is, a lot of people having nothing, which is just unfortunate. That's kind of how I see it playing out.
We've been headed that way for a while. Yeah, we lost stopped that over 10 years ago.
Oh, we could have, we always could have stopped it, but now the two things that the big thing is a lot of us are divided over stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah,
too. That's the other aspect.
Well, and that's by design also. Yeah.
Oh, sure. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No. It's easier to steal from people when everybody's fighting each other. That's always been that way. Going across this trip, actually, that was a very common thing. I came across the same message several times when I was in backpacking. So when I went from Regina to Winnipeg, I shared a car with a dude from Africa. He explained how divide and conquer worked in third world countries to me and how it works in first world. And he was right. Because just get people to fight each other. And as long as people are fighting each other, they don't notice the bigger things happening around them. And the way it works in first world countries is you pick a political issue and let people just go at it. Like, it doesn't matter. And what I realize is now is politics in that sense is very much like professional wrestling, right? There's a good guy, there's a bad guy, and one is the
nothing else really matters. They just kind of go at it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And depending on which side of the fence you are, you lean, and it's just like, it's hilarious to me because either way, it doesn't matter. They're both bad. Like there's no good guys here, guys. There's just bad guys across the board.
I bowed out. I bowed out of the whole political thing years ago. I've been bipartisan for years. I haven't voted for years because it doesn't matter, especially in Washington State. I know some people aren't going to agree with that, but like literally,
that's fine.
Where I live, literally everything's decided before I even go to vote because of the electoral, vote. Until that is thrown out, it doesn't even matter if I vote or not because of that. So anyways, I stay out of politics because as much as we'd like to think our opinion matters, it doesn't. I mean, it really doesn't. And then that's
George Carlin had it right. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say George Carlin had it right years ago. All the real choices have already been decided for us.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. All the real choices have been decided. So. All right, and most people don't really look at the system. Like he did the Baskin Robbins example. So the illusion of choice. It's Baskin Robbins. You have 31 flavors, really, right? Which is great, but electric company ripping you off. Bet you it's the only electric company in your state.
Oh yeah, I don't have a choice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I bet you. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, right. So if they had a competitor,
solar, they charge you extra fees until you in different ways so that you don't even really save anything. It's all around.
That's it. Like once you see that, it's just, again, you just recognize the game for what it is. Now, again, some of it's the nature of the beast, and I get that, but at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, so how can I justify? Like, again, this is just me as a backpacker that can write across anywhere. I can do this podcast anywhere, theoretically speaking.
Oh yeah,
I can do all right. So then, why stay?
Yeah, pick where you want to go.
Yeah, and that's it. And so I'm gonna go Europe. Well, I'm gonna go from Europe to Asia next. That's the next. Oh, wow. That's the next spice on the journey.
Very cool.
Well, because it's just, I'm at this point in my life. It's like, listen, if this is my midlife crisis, cool.
I've already had two.
That's great. Right, that's great. Two? Was there like a mini crisis or a big crisis?
More. Oh, around the typical one around 30, and then I ran around, I don't know, 40, 45, something like that. My first one after my first divorce, I became a firefighter.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I did all this stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome. So it's not, I won't mess with you. You'll kick my ass. That's what you're telling me right there, is you'll kick my ass, because firefighters might be the best by design. You're probably some of the best in shape like occupations ever. I've seen some.
I was, when I first started it, I started late. I think I turned 30 right after I joined. So I was like right around 30. I was one of the oldest to go through the fire academy.
Nice.
But I was in the best shape probably ever of my life then, because I was like lifting weights. I was still able to jog back then. I've got bad knees now, but I think even more so than just the physical stuff, it's more kind of like that personality type, like that type A. You find out quick if faced with fight or flight, which one are you going to do? And so, I know I'm a fighter. And
I mentioned kicking. I mentioned getting my ass I kicked, right? So I know, right? I know.
Only if it's deserved.
That's fair. No, hey, listen, that doesn't matter. So it's like, hey, folks, want to see a poodle? Grab me, just turn and wave me like a balloon. It's like, hey, poodle. No, it's all good. It's all good. No.
Well, now
So you made him firefighter in 30. Enjoyed it. So what happened to 45?
Was it 40? Yeah, about 45. Second divorce. So I don't know if I wouldn't call it a midlife crisis, but more of just kind of a shift. Like it's the new chapter, and that was when the last time when I sold my kids were grown by then, and so I, for the first time in my life, lived like completely on my own for several years. And it was during that time period too that COVID hit, and I quit my job. I was working in the emergency room, and I quit that job to write full time. I quit it a little bit early because of the politics surrounding things. And, but I was fortunate to where I had the option to do that and to write full time.
I'm working to get there. I actually, I should thank you for subscribing to my Substack. Thanks. I hope it entertains you. I hope it.
Check it out. I haven't had a chance to yet.
Yeah. So it's everything from me working for a pro wrestling company in one night to sleeping on concrete to everything in the middle of that. So it's just like,
sounds interesting.
Yeah. Well, you have to go. You have to. I figured this out at this point in my life. I'm an adventurer. I don't really have a place I need to be, so I'm just looking for a place to where I fit, and I need some stability, because I think the last stop for me from conquering the world, blah 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 blah, is I need a place to actually stay and call my own.
Right.
That's just being very, very honest.
Yeah.
But at this point in my life, I'm not working 80 hours a week for the bare minimum. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, that's my goal. I'm still right now. Especially the first half of this year, I'm kind of getting to where I can see the light, but I set myself up to write 7 or 8 books this year. So I've kind of been pulling the, 8 to 10 hour, 6 to 7 days a week writing to, make my contracts and stuff. But eventually I would like, I write fast enough. I would like to get to where I only have one focus, and, put a book out every couple, just one book every 2 or 3 months, and call that good. But maybe another year or two.
Yeah, it's fine. Are you doing like the 20 books to 50K routine, or is it just more like you just made a lot of contacts and are getting paid to do all the things you're doing?
Oh, that was, so I've been on, the 20 to 2050. I've been in that group for years and years. And I've got 56 books out, and didn't really go the conventional route. I've been full-time for going on 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. I've been publishing for going on 12. I've been writing my whole life, publishing going on, 10, 11 years, and full-time going on 5 years. And it took me more than 20 books, but it's just because I squirrel a lot, and I've written in like 10 different genres, which I don't recommend.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No.
And so, I mean, if there's a lot of really good books out there, and the group 20 to 50,000 on Facebook, there's tons and tons and tons of information in there. And I would say that was one of the launching points for me, with the contacts that I made there and the real life friends that I've made through that network and the conferences that I went to. Started out back in 2017, as a newbie, with a few books under my belt, and, kind of went to that and met a couple of online friends, face to face for the first time. And that was kind of my first taste of networking, and how important I think that is, or that can be. Kind of depends on what you do with it. And, fast forward to the last 3 years, I've actually been speaking on a panel now at the conference for post-apocalyptic. Those are I've got 3 completed post-apocalyptic series out that I wrote through Monic Press, co-authored with Mike Krause. And so 18 books total there. And then I just completed the 3rd and final book in a new series with Aethon Books, under just my name. And that the first book in that series has been out for almost 2 months now, First Impact. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, that one's been real exciting. It's been in the top, 1 to 2,000 on Amazon since it released. So yeah. And, 4.6 is, I got some great reviews and is very encouraging. Great audiobook that was produced through Dreamscape, and just a lot of exciting things happening with that. So I'm really, really eager to see how the other 2 books do. I try really hard with every series that, like, each book is more exciting than the last. So one of my pet peeves is when a series kind of ends with a whimper instead of a bang, where you feel like the author just kind of ran out of things to say. So I always try to stay in the story and stay present and give it as much effort at the end as I did in the beginning, which can be extremely hard if it's a really big story. But I feel really, really good about the sixth Extinction is my current releasing series right now. That's the series name. And First Impact is that first book. So I think it's really solid. I love the story. It'd make a great big screen action movie. It's a survival thriller. So it's kind of a in-your-face post-apocalyptic survival thriller. They described it. How did they say it? If Armageddon and 2012 had a baby, something like that. I love the description. But yeah. So anyways, I would say that, it's sticking in that genre and writing multiple series is really what's propelled my career to the next level. And that's, really anyone who knows anything about, marketing and publishing and writing, that's what they would say, is to find your market and, your niche, and to stick with it and to write to market if you want to be profitable at it. But there's that flip side too that I don't think is talked about quite often enough. And that's the, mental health and avoiding burnout that comes along with that mentality, which, some authors, they've got no problem just putting their head down and, barreling through and, that same, doing everything the right way. That just wasn't me. I have a way too short of an attention span, and I squirrel on everything. And I've always been that way. Even in school, it's like, I have to write what's in my head, and, the story that's in my head and my heart that I have to get out. And so that's what I do. After my last series, I took a break because it was a big 6-book, over 600,000 word series. Took me over a year to write. And I just needed a mental break from the genre and from the, it's just, it takes a lot of mental effort to write a big story like that. And so I wrote a historical romance, and I wrote a young adult dystopian, and I did a couple of children's picture books, and then I did a young adult spy thriller. and now I came back to I signed another contract then with Aethon for the 3 books. So, it's still a big story, but it's not as big. And that's where I needed to go with that. I've been wanting to tell this asteroid story for several years. And so I was really excited to get the opportunity to work with them, with Aethon, and get that story out. And my next adventure now, I finished the 3rd book in that like 3 weeks ago. And then I wrote a quick novella in my historical Western series. I just published that a few days ago. And now I've started on my next series that I'm very excited about. And that's co-authoring with L.T. Ryan, a new thriller series. And I think it's going to be really good. And so I'm about 10,000 words into that right now, the 1st book. And that's what I'm working on. And hopefully I expect that to keep me busy here for quite some time.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like you've done a lot of different things. I think I've had this doing things like this. I realize what any kind of marketing is really all about is connecting. Our business is connecting to people, right? Yeah. That's what our business is. We can say it a whole bunch of other fancy and wonderful ways, but really it's about, hey, have you ever, if I were to break writing down, it's like, hey, have you ever felt this way? Right. And it can be anything. It can be, have you ever laughed at, would you laugh at this joke? Have you had this romance? Have you been, or do you want to relate? Yeah. That relatability is such a huge part of what we do. And I think that's the real, marketing challenge. Like right now, I'm on my Substack, I'm writing about backpacking through North America. Who's going to like this? I'm like, well, probably anyone that's kind of wanted to do had always wanted to do a trip like this, never did, right? People who have done this trip and like, okay, what did you do, right? And that's right. It's like, okay, so it's like understanding very quickly what you're writing and who you're writing to.
Oh yeah, right? Understanding your audience is extremely important. It's like post-apocalyptic, at least for the there's a lot of different subtypes. You've got military, zombie, viral, natural disaster. You've got the in-your-face action, or more of a TV serious one where you've got the families trying to reach each other. And I've written in a few different of those subcategories, but there's what a lot of people don't realize is that for the bulk of that genre, the main reader is a middle-aged woman.
Yeah.
And so that's who you're writing to. And but more importantly, that's who you're marketing to. So you really have to understand your audience. And networking, it isn't even so much about marketing as it is expanding your opportunities, and learning from others, and just opening yourself up to more opportunities to pursue. But that can be scary because it means taking a little bit of a risk.
But you have to.
You have to, and that takes confidence, which I think everybody struggles with. No matter how successful you're deemed, it's still, confidence is still always an issue. And so I really have not traveled much. I'm kind of a homebody, and like the couple of trips I took to Vegas were for the conferences, for the 20 Books conferences, were kind of like big trips for me because I, just don't do stuff like that. So last year, after some other friends, author friends, had urged me to join NINC, NINC, which is a writers group. So you have to meet some requirements in order to be accepted, and it's juried. So I went through that process and got accepted and went to their, it's the conference they have down in Florida every year is kind of it's known to be a really good conference to go to because it's smaller, it's more personal, it's on the beach. And so I had a few other really good author friends, Franklin Horton and, Kyla Stone and Millie Copper. They were that I've met through online and 20 Books in person and have become like legitimate friends with. And they encouraged me to go. So because of that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I wouldn't have if I hadn't already met those people and been encouraged by them. I don't think I would have gone because it's across the country. It's expensive. It's a big deal for me. I really didn't have the extra cash to do it, but I sold it to myself and my kids. Like I made the comment, I'm like, there's different industries too and sponsors who are there, and in the kind of personal setting, you get one-on-one time with them. And I explained to them, I said, just one connection that pans out can pay for everything. And sure enough, through that conference, I made even more friends, and I set up some meetings with a few different industry leaders. One of them was with Dreamscape, which eventually the following year led to some offers for audio, and just one of those offers paid for that whole trip and my other trip for the rest of the year. But also because of taking that trip, I ended up being on another panel at another conference and that's where I met LT Ryan, and that's how I ended up getting that contract. And now that is, for me, it's another huge level up in my career. And it would have never happened if I hadn't taken that chance and gone to that conference last year. So it's all interconnected. Yeah. And I don't think that's unique, to writing. I think that there's probably a lot of jobs, especially like in the arts, creative arts, where there's, it requires confidence and a little bit of risk to a certain degree. You got to be smart about it, but stepping out and taking a chance and like cold contacting a award-winning narrator to, narrate your unknown book, and worst they can say is no. And I did that a few years ago and they said yes. So
because it's not why not? So I've done, this is 1,115. Like that's how many episodes I've done on this show. I just realized
that's a lot.
Done a lot of these, right? So big secret I've learned doing these things is you just ask people.
Right.
And it doesn't hurt. I lose nothing. I have asked some big celebrities. I've asked like their management teams. No fucks given. It's like, you know what? If they say no, great. I've had some big guests, right? And I've had some big guests. Like I've had Marissa Mayer come on the show, for example, right? Because I asked her. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, hi, right? I've had Kelly Armstrong, same thing. Can I come on? Yeah. So it's one of those. It's one of those. You have to be willing to put yourself out. You have to stay uncomfortable. Like that is the secret to life. Is if you really want to see the magic of life, you have to put yourself in situations where you're not entirely sure what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
like you're right. You have to, because
you have to your limits.
What part? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, you need to, because if you don't, you're never going to get anywhere. Like I think probably the best quote I've ever seen on television is "Playing it safe doesn't get you shit." It's right.
It's true.
Right. It doesn't. Like you can't do it. At some point, you have to make a leap. Like that's what life's about. The chances you take. And by the way, even failures, sometimes even failures sometimes don't lead to bigger successes, because what tends to happen is you get these opportunities to you get these opportunities to really, really, really like someone will remember your failures in a good, like in a positive way, right? And I'm not saying that in like oh, they're not gonna mock. They might mock you a little bit depending on how spectacular the failure is, but it won't. I will say I've definitely done some epic strikeouts in my time, but I had the guts to swing. That's the thing. Everyone respects bravery. That's the one thing I've learned about doing what I do, and whenever I tell the story of what I've done in the last year, I get, even if they despise me, they almost like I have no choice but to respect you. Right. You did it. Right. Yeah. Because, and bravery earns respect, and bravery will, like, it says something about your character because you are willing to take those chances.
Right.
And based on our conversation here really quickly, right? One, you've been around the block, but two, like I can see it, right? You're smart enough to know the opportunities that are in front of you, and you're brave enough to take the risk. And dare I say, that's probably why you've gotten as far as you have.
Yeah, I absolutely would not have gotten this far if I didn't take the risks. And it's funny too, because like even looking back at the breadcrumbs now, that go back years ago, just the little connections and the little things that I did that I had no idea at the time that they would lead to anything. And looking back now at how it's all interconnected, it's kind of cool. And kind of the big takeaway is, or that, not the takeaway, but confirmation, like my daughter, has said a couple of times how, she's noticed, has seen me going for it and accomplishing it, and that it's inspiring. And so that's the greatest compliment right there, to be seen as inspiring. It's like, okay, so might not, like you said, might not succeed at everything, but
you're not supposed to. Like you're not. You're not supposed to. That's not the point. The point is that you're there taking the swing. Right. That's the point.
And that eventually it can pay off, and that you won't even know how until it does. Yeah.
I had this epiphany about art because I draw. Right. I had this epiphany about. I realized something. This is going to sound like very counterintuitive. I don't have to be good.
Right.
And I actually realized that it's like, what a freeing thought that actually is. If I'm not worried about being good, what can I do with it? Because I realized the most important thing about any career, not just art, but any career, is showing up. Yeah. That's it. That honestly, like I have 10 rules of success. The first rule I have is show up. I always feel like an idiot saying that one because it's like, it's the easiest thing in the world to do, but I realize, like, honestly,
it's the hardest.
It's the hardest and the easiest. It's the hardest and the easiest, right? But I realize, like, that's the real measurement of character at the end of the day. I like, it's nothing else. What did you show up for? That I think that is, I think honestly, when I look back at everything I've done, and one of my goals in my life is I have very, very few regrets. I have maybe 3 mistakes. I have plenty of mistakes, all kinds of mistakes.
Right.
But regrets, I have I can count them in one hand. Right. And I realize that as long as I show up for everything I said I'm going to show up for, I'm probably going to have maybe at most a handful of these.
Right.
Right. And I think honestly, those are the things that haunt us the most. It's our regrets. And I realize that the way to avoid regret is, I feel like this is dumb, but show up. And writing is the same way. Like, people recognize when people show up.
Yeah.
Right.
And stay true to yourself. Yeah. And that's where everyone's path isn't going to be the same. And I think one of the hardest things is figuring out what yours is and recognizing it and acting on it.
Yeah, and I mean that's a struggle on my end. I think I'm going to like I need a place to stay. I know that's the next big immediate goal, but after that, it's like, okay, what's my path going to look like? It's like I'm probably going to be doing adventures until the day I'm in the ground, and it's like, okay, I'm okay with that. So what can I do with these adventures while I'm doing the thing, right? So that's what that's mine. Yours sounds like you're just about where you want to be. Like honestly,
I'm close.
Yeah, you might be
I'm
in
close.
Kansas next time we ever meet. You might be in Kansas next time, based on what I'm hearing. But
I might be in Hawaii.
I
love Hawaii. It's not cheap.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if everything is expensive, here's the flip side of that. If everything's expensive, then it doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't. So fuck it.
Go where you want.
Yeah, at that point, yeah, might as well. Like, what difference does it make? If there's no win anywhere I go, I might as well just go where I want to go and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and even so, like, yeah, my goal is to kind of be, set up to where, as far as the hours that I'm putting in, it's more of a part-time for a full-time return. If I can create enough revenue sources, through my publishing, with audiobooks and the ebooks and the paperbacks, and hopefully a Netflix here or there over the next 5-10 years.
Netflix video. How about video games?
I mean, if someone wanted to make a video game out of one of my books, I mean, sure, I'd talk to them about it. But that's not like anything that I have pursued. I mean, I would love to have. I tend to write similar to how a screenplay would already be written, and so I think that my books would be very easily adaptable, into either TV or movie. That's one of my bucket list things.
I totally get that. What I would point, this is just an aside.
Yeah,
you should look at the video game industry a little bit. Some of the stories there are better than what you see on television. Significantly.
Oh, sure.
So significantly so. You might have more like your survival book would be an awesome game. I'm not even not even joking. Like that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
One of my narrators, Tom Taylorson, he's the main voice for Mass Effect. Done Mortal Kombat and all that.
So you should contact him and say, hey bud, who do you think I should try this with? He might even give you an answer. I'm just saying. Hey, listen. And listen, if it works out, you owe me a dinner. Okay.
Oh, you got it.
Okay. You owe me a dinner. You'll be like, okay. Yeah, you owe me a dinner. But I'm just saying, like, don't just. Don't get me wrong. I think television is going to go through a very interesting metamorphosis because it has It has decentralized now, and it's definitely shown how TV is being produced right now. I think it's going to be interesting because I think in the next decade, television will come back. For myself, yes. I think television is going to come back somewhat. It won't be the same, but it'll come back in a very different way in about 10 years. Because I don't. In one sense, I think they're going to reinvent basic cable. I think that's why I think it's going to be an iteration of that. Because while streaming is cool, it is not. Streaming has decentralized television, and I think. Yeah. I think the industry actually got hurt from that a little bit, and it needs a little bit more of a central. We'll see how it goes, but that's my.
Yeah.
But
because it'll eventually collapse in on itself if you get so many different platforms, and people will only keep so many.
It kind of has already. Like that's what it was like. Now, don't get me wrong. The pandemic and all the strikes happening simultaneously didn't help them, but it definitely created a very interesting like gulf right now. And I do think while I do think the demand for content is still ridiculously high, I do right now gaming looks healthier of the other race. The health seems the healthiest of
right.
Right, seems healthier.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take on the whole situation right now. I mean, but you never know. You never know. Like I mean, listen, saying all that, I'm sure in like 3 years you'll be like, "Hey, I got an option for this show." I'll be like, you know what? Congratulations. And no, I mean, yeah, like I genuinely am rooting for everyone's success. I don't really. I'm not trying to be like, you know, oh my gosh, this is going to be the most terrible. No. I want you to all to succeed and do your thing. And I hope it works out for the most part, either exactly the way you envision it or preferably even better than how you envisioned it.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, why not? I accidentally got, sorry. I was going to say,
yeah, go ahead.
I accidentally got traditionally published, setting out to actually just doing an indie published book. I did it by accident. So it's like, I already know like it's genuinely possible to putting yourself out there that things can lead to bigger and better things than you imagine.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my hope. That's my hope for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. You never know.
Yeah.
And it's you know, no matter how old you get, like I'm still learning. And a big part too is in the midst of life and everything that you don't have control over to remain true to yourself, you know, and who you are and what works for you and not what people, you know, expect or with the, you know, the weird social stuff that's going on now. So,
I realize that I have to become a bit of a villain in the way the world has gone. Like you're gonna piss somebody off. So I've decided that I'm just not gonna worry about who I piss off anymore, because I realize one of the things I realize is that we're not going to agree on everything. We don't need to. In fact, I think it's better that we don't. I think it's better that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's actually
all agreed.
Yeah. Oh no. Where we all agree is a frightening one, and I want nothing to do with it. What I think is though is, there's a filtering process too, and I want people who are open-minded, willing to have discussions, can disagree with me, can reason out their stuff. And even at the end, when we look at each other and go, I understand where you're coming from. That's what I want with the people in my life. And if those people don't exist, if you're not that person, I don't want you in it. And if you walk away from me because I will piss you off, more the better. If that makes me a villain, I'm good with it. You know what I mean? And I'm okay being the bad guy in people's stories. And what a wonderful feeling that is. Now, when I turn 50, I'll get an obnoxious red cape and I'll hire a very pretty woman to hold it for me when I'm not speaking, because that way I can look cool in the moment. That would be my true midlife crisis, by the way, right there.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. That's my true midlife crisis. I will have fun with it. Right. No mustache. I won't have a TiVo mustache, but I will have the obnoxious cape. Right. So you can beat me in a hockey. Well, yeah, I gotta do me. You can beat me in a hockey fight, but I will look cool when I talk. It's like that is the whole goal. I'm envious. But you have to realize that you're not going to make everybody happy, and you shouldn't. What you should be worried about is, at the end of the day, can you look in the mirror? Do you like the person you see there? If the answer is yes, you've done okay. Right? Now, some days you're not going to win your battles, but that's okay too. Again, no one goes undefeated in this life. You're not supposed to win every battle. Sometimes you just have to, you just have to show up. God, I feel like an idiot every freaking time, but that's what it is. Like, show up to the battle. Just show up.
If you don't go to the dance and stand against the wall, you're never going to dance.
That's right. That's right.
You gotta show up for it. Oh, I'm sitting on my yesterday. So I hike a lot. That's like my pastime, and I do all my brainstorming hiking. And we live out in the middle of pretty much nowhere in a community. And anyway, so I was walking out towards the trail that I go on, and there was an idling vehicle on the other side of the street. from me that I was walking down, and this is in the woods. And I looked over and I thought it was empty, but it was running. And so I walked past, and I almost kept going, which is like very unlike me. I mean, I was kind of in my own little world and thinking, but I'm normally, even though I haven't been an emergency responder for a while, I'm always kind of in that mode, and that's just who I am. Mm-hmm. And the story that I'm writing right now is centered around emergency responders, so I'm kind of immersed in that, back in that world, and things seem to happen when I write about it. So anyways, there was just that inner voice that was screaming at me, you need to stop and go back and look. And I almost didn't listen to it, which, I stopped, and I'm like, I turned and I looked back, and I'm like, I looked around the truck and I didn't see anybody. I'm like, yeah, that's not right. I need to go back and look. So I went back and looked, and there was someone slumped over in the seat, called out. There was, no response. And I walked up, and I won't get into too much details, but I had reason to believe that it was an OD and that the person was dead. I've seen a lot of death, and I know what it looks like. And they looked about as close as you get, without coming back. And I really thought I was about to have to do CPR on them. I taught CPR for like over 12 years. So, I no hesitation, but I, yelled again as I went to open the door, and they still didn't respond. But just as I was going to open the door, they kind of jerked and moved a little bit. I'm like, okay. So I backed away real quick because, I couldn't see the other hand, and people that are coming up from something like that, you don't know how they're going to act. So I called 911, and let them know. And I stuck around so I could tell if they lost consciousness again, that I could intervene. And while I'm on the phone, and the person saw me, but then like laid back down and then sat back up. And anyways, while I'm on the phone with dispatch, my daughter turns the corner with my little granddaughter, who's 2, in the back seat. And I'm like, keep going. And about a minute later, this person drove off, and turned, going, they would have on a 50 mile per hour road and the responders were already on their way. The police ended up stopping them and arresting them. That's another story.
Yeah.
But as I'm walking away from this and continuing on my hike, I'm like, what if I hadn't listened to that inner voice? Or what if I did, and I saw them, and I did what probably 80% of society would do, which is nothing, right? Don't want to get involved. Or maybe they would have called, but they wouldn't have, or they probably wouldn't have called in the first place because they wouldn't have stopped. They wouldn't have gone back and looked. But anyways, most of society is just kind of like, wouldn't even think about it. Or if they did, they still wouldn't call, or they definitely wouldn't have, reacted or been willing to act or do CPR or any of that stuff. But I was thinking more about this, and I'm like, what if, just because of so many different factors and variables, there is the potential that vehicle could have struck my daughter head on. I mean, it was just minutes, and that is something, I mean, if something like that had happened, that is something I would never forgiven myself for, because mm-hmm. I didn't act, which is my norm that I would have done. Anyways, I mean, I don't know if that all makes sense, but it was just kind of like the universe speaking to me. This is why you do you. This is why you stop. This is why you go back and look. This is why you call. This is why you get involved, because I've seen, as a responder, I was also a support officer. So I responded to death scenes. I did death notifications with the coroner. I've held people as they found out their loved one was killed by a drunk driver. I've seen the repercussions. I know what can happen. And that's why I do act. And in that moment, I'm like, this is why I do it, because that right there, that little glimpse, snapshot. I mean, you know, you never know who the victim or potential victim could be. You never know what the outcome would be. You know, this is why you listen to that inner voice, and why you stay true to yourself, and why you do you, regardless of the rest of society. So anyways, yeah, I think it's important to listen to that part of you that's, you know, driving to.
I really wish I had more time to get into this with you. I really do. I have to go, sadly.
Otherwise,
I no, because this is such a cool little story. I think I'll end it with a very, very one of my favorite Shakespeare quotes of all time. Above all else, to thine own self be true. That's Shakespeare, and it's one of the best ones he has ever written. So
there's a reason. I think the universe, that when you are true to yourself and when you do take those chances, you know, all of that stuff, that you get confirmation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially in the face of death. Like I said, if we had a little more time, tell you, you'll read it. Well, I will say, and this is not just a cheap plug for my stuff. Read my Substack a little bit more. You'll see moments in the journey, especially the next one on Friday.
Yeah.
Going forward, sometimes it's reward. I promise. Okay.
Well, I think that's what happens when you're connected to the world around you.
Yeah. No, it really, really does.
Yeah.
You gotta plug something, and then we gotta let people know where to find you, and then we'll wrap this up.
So you can find me under Tara Ellis, ELLIS. I've got a website, but you can find me on Amazon. All of my stuff is there. First Impact is my book that's going hot right now, and also The Fallen, Young Adult Dystopian. That's the one, the audiobook just came out. That's really good. So yeah, give them a look. I got 10 different genres to pick from.
That's right. Tara Ellis, jack of all trades, brave woman, ass kicker. That's how I'm going to describe you. Okay, does that work?
All right.
Thank you for being part of the experiment. So, folks, I will be doing more regular podcasting. I'm still working the bugs out. We didn't quite get to where we wanted to go. Trust me, we had planned to start this 15 minutes sooner than we did, but I'm rushing this now. If you want to keep following Tara, check out her books. You want to follow me, check out my Substack, myname.substack.com. I will be back very soon. I have a lot of guests lined up for the summer. Tara, so happened to be graciously the first one. Thank you for coming on my show.
Thanks for having me.
And for everybody watching, everybody listening. Sorry for the interruption. Sorry. So everybody watching, everybody listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time. And